Hello. Today we're going to talk about getting started with jQuery. Now I'm going to make this as close to the absolute minimum as I can. I really struggled trying to find a way to make this both a fulfilling activity and also minimal, and I had a hard time doing that. I scoured the internet for examples of ways to verify that jQuery is working, and by scoured I mean, upwards of 2 to 3 minutes, and I couldn't find anything that was super simple, so I'm going super simple. And you're not going to feel good about this when you're done, but you're at least going to know that you have the tools to get started with jQuery. So trying to make this as easy as I can. So here's my starting point. So at the point where you decide that you're going to use jQuery, you need to realize that that is a resource that you're going to need to link your users to. So there's a bunch of ways you could do that. You could download it from jQuery, host it, and provide a link. Or you could use a hosted library. So I went to the Google, I type in jQuery link, so I get a couple things. One thing I get here is from the official jQuery website. You got different things. We got uncompressed, minimized, slim, minified. These are all different, like in terms of file size. They have different file sizes. Minified is going to be the smallest. I actually don't even know what those are. Maybe those are like with parts cut out. I'm just going to click on this one here, right? And so this is a link. I'm going to go copy this link. And so what this means, I'm going to copy and paste this link into my page, and that's going to give me access to jQuery. I think I talked for 1 minute and 30 seconds. I haven't done anything yet. I usually go with this hosted library by Google. Basically what you're doing here is you're realizing that there's web servers on the internet that are hosting this link for you. You could host it yourself. You could download it, host it yourself, or you can link to someone else's library. I link to someone else's library because you're not going to beat the availability and uptime that Google's going to be able to provide. So here I am, blank, plain web page, whatever this is. And I'm going to paste that link. You know that thing that I copied a minute ago? I paste that. Notice it's a set of script tags, and it's got a source, which is some external URL. Where that points to, I don't care. Point to somewhere reliable. So that is the jQuery site. Point to Google. I'm telling you, at this point, you have jQuery. There's ways you could manage to mess that up. Trust me, I think I have messed it up quite a few ways before, and I've seen people mess it up. Now, all I'm going to do is start writing some jQuery. So if you don't know anything about JavaScript, I don't know that that's a huge problem, but some things are going to be mysterious, like these script tags. Script tags just mean I'm going to be writing some JavaScript. So I open and I close them. All right, and this is the same way you would write JavaScript. So whether I'm writing JavaScript or jQuery doesn't really matter. Now, I'd like to verify that this actually worked, that I actually have that library. So here's what I came up with as an easy way to do this. So up in my web page, which doesn't even remotely resemble a valid web page, I'm going to make a set of h1 tags. And, I'll put some content in there, like hello world. I don't know, why not? So this is a web page. It's not valid by any definition, but it's a web page with a single h1 tag. And so what I'm going to do down here in these script tags is I'm going to write some native JavaScript. Specifically, I want to write something to the log. So console.log. That means, so the console log is it's a developer tool. It doesn't show by default. I'll show you how to display it. And if you put something in here like hello, to be clear, what I've done so far is just pure JavaScript. There's nothing jQuery about this. And if all you're doing is JavaScript, then don't use jQuery, because this is something that you're asking people to download, and that uses up bandwidth. So I'm going to save this thing. I'll put it on my desktop. I'll give it dumb example.html. It is HTML. This is a web page. That's the idea, is that this would be embedded in a web page. I save. I'm going to go run this thing. So open it up in a browser of my choice. There's my H1. Let's talk about that console. I right-click. I inspect element. Depending on your browser, things are going to be a little bit different. Here's my console. You know how I told my console to say hello? Well, there's that hello. It's right there. This is where your errors go when you're doing JavaScript or jQuery. So if you pretty much have to crack open this console if you want to have any chance at debugging your code. Here we are, 4.5 minutes in. I haven't really done anything in jQuery. That was kind of really the goal of what we're trying to do, is just link to that. But I want to prove to you that jQuery is in fact working, because sometimes it's not. So you'll know you're writing jQuery because you're going to use this $, which is shortcut for jQuery. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a variable. I'm going to call it h1, which is already getting weird. And what I want to do over here is use the jQuery selector. So I'm going to do $, parentheses, as quotes, it's a string, H1. What this means is use jQuery to select all the H1s on the page. That's what that means. This right here, pure JavaScript. This right here, pure jQuery. They work together. So I'm making a JavaScript variable, which is this thing that jQuery returns. That will select that. I can't talk about selectors in the time that we have here today, so I'm not going to. And instead of spitting out hello, I want to spit out that H1. So I'm going to spit out whatever that returned. If jQuery wasn't working, then this is going to blow up on me. If this does something, as much as it's going to be nonsense, it'll verify that it is working. I save, I head over here, I refresh, and I get this junk down here, object 0, H1. This tells you a little bit about the nature of jQuery and how things work, but the fact that it didn't say jQuery not found means it worked. I know, like I said, this is minimal. It's not a cool example, but it works. Now here's what I'm going to say about that. Let's say I managed to make a mistake like that. Like, in other words, the only reason this wouldn't work is if you didn't import that library correctly. So I screw that up, head over here, I refresh, and then you start getting things like that. $ is not defined. If you ever see $ is not defined, then it means your link is wrong up here. That's really the mistake that you could make. Everything else is just going to be some kind of a syntax error. And once I fix that, then you see I get this thing that is nonsense, and I don't care to get into it at all because there's nothing there. But you see how I know now that kind of proves to me that I have access to JavaScript because that $ character is now recognized. Now I would have loved to do something where we bind an event or, do something cool, but I figure if you're watching this video, you're pretty close to the start, so this is about the minimum you could do and have some guarantee that it's working. And you also know what it looks like if it doesn't, which is half of what we figured out here today. So once you got this, now you're ready to start writing some jQuery, and you're going to need a web page probably to make that happen, so you're a few steps away from doing too much, but this is probably the easiest way to verify that you have jQuery working. So, thanks for watching.